You Booked It, episode 23. Hey, entertainers and performers of the world. I'm your host, Dane Reese, and welcome to You Booked It, where I chat with inspiring entertainers 7 days a week. By digging into their journey, we're going to discover everything you need to do to be a successful entertainer. You know, because training usually skips that part about how to actually make your skills work for you in the real world. Fellow entertainers, my drive here at You Booked It is to share the inspiring and incredible journeys of successful entertainers. We are here to support your journey. So go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the You Booked It email community where we dig deep into truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help you book that next audition, submission, or gig. If you enjoy this free podcast, please show your support and search for You Booked It on Apple Podcast or your favorite podcast app where you can subscribe so you don't miss an episode, leave a rating and review. And to show our appreciation for your, fingers crossed, 5-star rating and review, I will give you a shout out on an upcoming episode. And now, let's do this. Okay, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my next guest, Michael Radiff. Are you ready for this, Michael?
I am super ready.
Perfect. Michael has performed professionally for almost 15 years. His career began as a dancer on Royal Caribbean cruise lines. There, he found his passion for the aerial arts, which brought him to Las Vegas in 2012. Since then, he has performed as an aerialist, dancer, and acrobat in many events and several shows across the Las Vegas Strip. He is happily married now and juggles parenting 6 rambunctious dogs and is thankful for the love and support of his family and friends. Michael, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in the gaps, who you are, where you're from, where you're currently calling home, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
Okay, well, thank you, Dane. I'm really excited to share. My name is Michael Radiff. I am originally from Pueblo, Colorado, a small town about 45 minutes south of Colorado Springs. And then from there, right out of high school, is when I started working professionally. I started on cruise ships, as you had said. And then once I moved to Vegas, Vegas has been my home since then. So I've been here for almost 8.5 years going on. And it was kind of always a plan of mine to end up in Las Vegas. I really wanted to be a performer here and have been happy that I've been able to sustain a pretty decent career while being here. And now I'm super rooted, married, dogs, living here in Vegas, and now just trying to juggle still working and making it through a global pandemic, as you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, as we all do right now.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to this section. And of course, I am a sucker for a good quote.
Okay.
What's your favorite quote that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah. So my favorite quote, I've had this quote for a long time that I've held on to, and it is, "Work is love made visible." And it comes from the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And there's an entire section about work in that book, and it talks about different aspects of that. And one of the big things that I took from that in my life is work isn't just your job. Relationships take work, marriage takes work, being generous and caring takes work. And so from my perspective and seeing other people and then trying to, put my own passion in my work, when I see real work done in all of these different areas, you really do see love visible. It really becomes tangible. And so I really held on to that quote for pretty much my entire adult life.
I love that. And I think as entertainers and being in the arts in general, we're very blessed and fortunate that what we get to do for a living and for careers is so so much a part of us, and we're so passionate about it, and it's such a we're so lucky to be in that situation compared to
Hmm.
so many people that simply work for a paycheck.
Right, right. Absolutely. Well, and that's another thing that you really hit it on the head. Was it's important that, to me, that through my work you see the passion. Because yes, as performers we are passionate, but it makes a big difference when people who see you work see that passion too.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to this next section.
Okay.
So, Michael, you are an entertainer, of course. I am an entertainer.
Hmm.
And I think you'd agree the entertainment industry is one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries either of us know about. And you know as well as I that to create and to have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there is an outrageous amount of fun and excitement being an entertainer, being on stage in front of audiences, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we're going to experience. And we have to learn how to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Hmm. Great question. Well, for me, the number one obstacle that has carried throughout my entire career and will probably continue, even past now, is body image. As a male performer,
Mm,
I'm sure you can attest to this, that we are looked at to have a certain look in a lot of shows, body type, size, that kind of different thing, those kind of different things. And I regularly would get told that I don't have the ideal body type for shows, uh, even when having the skills and the talent necessary or required for those shows. So that's something that I have wrestled with for years. And trying to fit molds, trying to change my body to fit things that would maybe get into those shows that I really wanted to be in. And at one point, I realized I was trying to fit a mold that was unattainable. It's
yeah.
just not what my body would do. So once I accepted that, I started looking at myself differently and realizing, because of the way I'm built, that because of the way my body is, I could actually do some really cool things because of that. And had my body been different, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do. And so then I changed the way that I would look at myself in the mirror and view myself. And instead of aggressively trying to change those parts of my body, I would celebrate those parts of my body, because that allowed me to do those really cool things. So it's like, it's a good thing you look like that, because you wouldn't be able to do these things if you didn't. So I've really had, and it's taken work. It wasn't like I woke up one day and just made that change and I felt better.
Right.
It's taken a lot of work, because that rejection is still going to be there. That part doesn't go away, but it is part of what our business is, and you have to build that thick skin. But beyond that, you have to be able to champion yourself in those times, because you still have that value and that skill and that talent that will never be taken away. So.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I can very much relate to that because myself personally, I'm not really tall, but I'm not really short, which is fine. But my biggest thing is that I'm just a bulkier person,
Hmm.
and when it comes to getting cast, oftentimes I wouldn't get cast because I just simply don't fit the look. I'm too big, I'm too
Hmm.
bulky for what they had in mind for whatever the
Hmm.
show might be. But
Right.
in the same regard, it has also served me so much throughout my career in loads of different
Hmm.
shows and productions. And you're right. When I was going to the Boston Conservatory, you're around a lot of your quintessential chorus chorus guys, and
Hmm.
they were just born that way, right? And I tried to be that, and I realized, yeah, my body just doesn't do that. Doesn't do it, won't do it. And instead, you just flip it on its head and you work with what you've got. And that ultimately gets you more work. That's the crazy thing.
Absolutely. Well, and it's so inconsistent because it's kind of great that we're having this interview because you and I both share a job when we both were in Jubilee, which
Yeah.
I had the exact opposite situation with body type and look. Mine is I'm either too thin or too tall or not bulky enough. And here we ended up in the same show at one point together. So it's also juggling that inconsistency of you're trying to fit a mold, but sometimes the mold doesn't matter. And so it really just goes to show the more you champion yourself and really build on your own strengths, you're going to find that success.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Well, let's move to this next section to a time when I like to call your spotlight moment. That
Mhm.
moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in the entertainment industry. Tell us about that.
Okay, this one's easy. This is clear. I can picture this clear as day. So I was around 14, 15. I can't remember the exact year, but I remember the exact moment. So I was here in Vegas. We were on vacation. Being from Colorado, it's close to Vegas. So that was a lot of our summer vacations growing up as family. And especially being in dance, a lot of dance competitions would be held in Vegas that we would go to as well.
Right.
So we came to Vegas yearly. So then I remember going to see the show Mystere at the Treasure Island. And I will never forget the first time seeing Ross Gibson. I'm calling him out as the Redbird and just being completely captivated. I could not take my eyes off of him the entire show. When he was off stage, I couldn't wait for him to come back on stage. I was just completely enamored in his performance, his artistry, his agility, his athletic and acrobatic ability all together, his dance, his acting, his costume, everything about his performance just completely sucked me in. And that's when I knew I want to do that. I want to be like him. And one day I want to be on that stage working in that environment. And what's great is moving here and getting to actually meet him, and he's still in the show, and I'm sure if he hears this he's going to be mad at me for aging him, but I think it's a true testament to his um, professionalism and the quality of not only his performance but his sustainability. He's still in that show. He still rocks it nightly and is amazing and is such a highlight of that show. And he has been an inspiration from my teenage years all the way through my adulthood. And then getting to meet him and work with him in several projects here and there was a total dream come true. So even to be in his realm is for me is seeing back at that teenage kid having a dream and then pretty much getting it in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And I remember Jess and I went to Mystere. You're right. The red bird in that show. I had no idea who the actual performer was,
Hmm.
but captivating.
Mm,
In my opinion, the best part of the show. You know,
absolutely.
it's like who's this person that is dancing better than all the dancers and doing
Yes.
better acro than all the acrobats,
Yes.
and then acting his face off. I mean, and it gets us a lot of clowning, really, is what it is,
Yes.
and it
Right.
is so amazing.
Hmm.
It, I think it's worth it for anyone. If you've not seen the show, make sure you see Mystere when you come to Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
Such a great show.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's piggyback on that question real quick and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the audition, the callbacks, if those happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
You got it. Oh my gosh. So last year in the early part of 2019, this is in February, I did not audition for this. This was kind of an accidental job. There was a show at the SLS, which is now Back to the Sahara, called Totally Outrageous Brunch. And I had been brought onto the project just to help with some of the aerial stuff. Since I work as an aerialist here in Vegas, I just got brought in to talk about rigging. They had a aerial duo that was going to be performing in the show, and one of the producers on the show I'm friends with brought me in to just kind of check the space out. And so I did that. And then a few weeks later, before they were going to open, the aerial duo decided to leave the project. So then my producer friend calls me and says, hey, how would you like to be in the show and as the aerial act? Now it's a duo. So I had just started working with my friend April as an aerial duo, and we had been working together as a duo for about, I want to say, 6 months. So we were new as a duo, but not new to the aerial world. We had worked
Right.
separately. We had worked together in other projects, but it was somewhere near the end of 2018. We were like, we should work together. We should be a duo. And so I asked April, I say, hey, there's this opportunity. Would you want to perform as the duo act in this brunch show? We didn't really know a lot about it because we didn't audition for it. We didn't know a lot about it. And she was totally on board. So we went in, and I guess our audition was just showing them our act. And it was probably 4 days before the show opened.
What?
Yeah, it was really, really close because they were about to open with the cast they already had.
Right.
Well, so in that time, they find out that we're also dancers, and they needed a pre-show act, and the dancers that they had also pulled out of the project. So
Oh my gosh.
they asked, is there anything you think you could pull together? And so we all sat around a table and we came up with this concept to have a comedy dance duo. And so we were called Cafe con Leche. She played Cafe, I was Leche. And we were this Latin ballroom couple that pretended like they knew how to speak Spanish, pretended like they knew how to do ballroom, and were just super obnoxious throughout the entire show. So the show itself was set up as a kind of like dinner theater, but it was brunch instead. So it was in the early part of the day. And people would come in, they would eat, and then random acts would go on throughout the show. But there was kind of a theme throughout. And that theme was held on by the dance duo throughout the show to kind of keep it moving. So we would come out throughout the show and be really silly, do some dancing, mess with the audience. It was really comedic. And then at the end, we would do our aerial duo act. And that's when we kind of transformed. So it was kind of a surprise at the end that we were this featured aerial duo that was like, oh, wow, they're actually legitimate. They're
Right.
actually something. And so for me, and I kind of speak for April too, because we talk about this a lot, that for both of us is the pinnacle of our career, because we both starting as dancers and then finding a love for the aerial arts. And that is a difficult world to break into. And to get that position was such a really, really exciting time for us. And I'll never forget the day that we showed them our routine, and then everything just moved so fast, and they were like, that's great, you're in, come to rehearsal tomorrow, we'll start building this into the show and everything. And we pack up all of our stuff, and we're walking out of the theater, and we're walking through the casino, and we just stopped in the middle of the casino. We dropped our stuff and we looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be a duo on the Strip. And we just hugged each other. We started crying in the middle of the casino.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure people were like, what is wrong with these people? And we just held each other. We were so emotional and so excited, because it was really that you made it feeling. And
Absolutely. And you were doing everything that you do.
yes,
Oh.
oh my gosh, we filled so many things in that show. And it was very challenging. It was really tough because we were in a good 80% of the show. But it was so fulfilling. So we didn't care. We loved being tired after that show. And it was one of those shows I never didn't want to go in. I was so jazzed every single show, knowing I was going to get to perform with my partner. We were going to, be featured in this. And it was just every show was like the first show. Every show was that exciting feeling. And we only ran for about 4 months, because it was a tough show to stay open in the location it was in, but I would never go back and change a thing with that show. That was an amazing experience that changed both of our lives, really solidified our duo, our partnership, and we will base everything off of that from here on out for sure.
That is a fantastic story. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that.
of course.
Let's take a moment now to talk about the present.
Okay.
What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And of course, we are amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yeah, great question. So projects, it is really interesting. My life has changed, or I guess things have been added to my life that are so interesting that I never did. For the shutdown, I was in Hans Klock, the world's fastest magician, at the Excalibur.
Hmm.
And so I was in that working as a dancer and as a magician's assistant. That is my first experience with magic. So I got to learn a lot of new things that after all these years working professionally, uh, still new things, and it's so exciting. So right now, as far as we know, we are coming back. So I'm still on hold with the cast there. It might be the end of the year or whenever it's going to be. So I definitely want to hold on to that because that was really fun and exciting to be a part of. And then I also coach at a circus school. And when we went through the shutdown, we immediately created a virtual online program. And so we had been doing, a lot of us had just been teaching from our homes. And obviously, we couldn't do any aerial stuff, but we would do conditioning and hand balancing and juggling and all the ground acts you could think of. We just really put our heads together and pulled that out. And so now that we're kind of reopening, along with our virtual classes, we have an outdoor rig space where we do flying trapeze, and we put some outdoor rigs out there, and we've started an outdoor program with some of the loosening of the restrictions. So we do social distancing classes basically. So we follow all the CDC guidelines, and we have lots of space, but it's great because we're now bringing back our circus family to the school, and so that's been really great. So I've just been a part of that. I'm the aerial coordinator at Trapeze Las Vegas, and so me and several other team members, our owners and some admin, we have, since this happened from the beginning, we put our heads together daily to try to keep this business going, because it's more than just a business. It's a circus family that really we want to keep alive, and has been very challenging. So then that also brings me to a very interesting project that I've actually been involved with for about 3.5 years now. When I was in a show called Showstoppers at the Wynn, I worked with this fantastic dancer named Diana Vaden. She is now in New York City, and she worked in Tootsie on Broadway, and she's done some other projects. And then right before the pandemic, she booked this new show called Once Upon a One More Time, and it's a princess fantasy show with the music of Britney Spears. Really, really eclectic and crazy, and sounded really cool and interesting. And right before they started rehearsal, we went into the shutdown, so that's on hold right now as well. Well, while we were in Showstoppers together, at the end of our run, we were able to perform in Washington, D.C. as a kind of a last hurrah, but it was also during the inauguration of our current president, which was a very controversial thing. It was a wild experience, and some people didn't agree to do it. Some people did. We did agree to do it, and so we went to DC and we performed at this really intimate gala where a bunch of diplomats from all over the world came to celebrate our new administration and everything. And it was in this really cool old 1930s auditorium called the Mellon Auditorium. And so we performed in it. Well, in the whole process, we're doing rehearsals, we're getting to go to all of the monuments and museums and enrich, it was very enriching. We got to experience DC really heavily. And it sparked this idea of a TV show. And I told my friend about it. She loved it. And we have been writing a 5-season TV series, political drama based on this event that we performed in. So,
Wow.
yeah. So when the pandemic started, the positive of that was because our work schedules changed so much, we've been writing daily now. Normally we do like meet up a couple times a week, sometimes even a couple times a month, depending on the shows we were in. And so, but now we're like, all right, tomorrow, what's next? Tomorrow, what's next? And so we've been writing and writing and writing. We've actually just submitted for a writer's workshop that we're hoping to get chosen for, that will help us build our pilot and kind of edit the script and really make it presentable to pitch to producers. And so it's something I never thought. I did not go to school for that at all. I'm not, I don't have any experience with screenwriting, but this idea just really inspired us. And so we've been on fire for it for quite some time. So that's a really fun project that I'm still working on right now. And then the last one would be April and I have finally been able to get back together to start training our duo stuff now that we've loosened up some things. And we are building a new act on a new apparatus. It's in chains, which is really intense and sounds intense, and it is
Yeah.
intense. And then we've also incorporated what's called Iron Jaw, where we literally hang by our jaw. You put your mouth in a mouthpiece and you go off the ground and you work in the air while you're hanging by your mouth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we're really excited that we're back together and able to do that. We've taken a lot of precautionary measures to make sure we're safe and everything is good and we're being, smart and healthy. But we're so excited to be working together again and building something new, and excited for what that could be, leading into this next chapter. Which I guess brings me to what I foresee in the business. It's really hard to foresee where the entertainment business is going to go, especially now, because I feel that even pre-pandemic, our business is already volatile and you don't always know. Like, you go through trends, Vegas goes through trends, LA, New York, everywhere goes through different trends just based on, what's in or, what's popular. And now we have to navigate this new thing where it's what's safe and what are the risk management steps to take. So it's really hard to really say I foresee A, B, and C. But one thing I can say that I feel confident about and is I am excited for us to come back, because I think it's going to be a new thing. The industry will be new because of it, and I will be ready. That is one thing that from the day we went to the shutdown, I was like, this is an opportunity for those people who really want to stick it out. And I want to be one of those people. And when people can go back, I will be ready to step back that first day. So that's where I'm at with projects and foreseeing the future.
For sure. And I love that you have that mentality of saying, look, I've just been handed hours upon hours of time
Mm-hmm.
that I can concentrate on whatever I want to do,
Yeah.
whether that's the screenplay and the project that you're working on there, or your act, or just your mental and your physical fitness, in
Mm-hmm.
honing your skills and keeping them sharp. it's clear that you're not wasting any time. You're not letting it just kind of go away. You're
Right.
taking advantage of this.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, let's move into one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning round.
Yes.
I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible. Boom, 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 one
Okay.
after another. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Great. First question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Nothing.
Love it. Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Go.
Great. Third question. What is something that is working for you now? Or if you'd like to go pre COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
I'm going to say during COVID. So my answer for during this whole process would be yoga and juggling.
Great. Fourth question. What is the best resource, whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, a podcast, or some piece of technology that you have found is helping your career right now?
I have to say it. It's Zoom.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Although, have you heard of Facebook Rooms?
Oh, I did see that on TV. I saw a advertisement for that. I have not used it. I have not tried it. I know nothing about it.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's kind of just the social version of Zoom.
okay.
And you don't even have to have a Facebook account to use it, which is pretty cool.
Mm,
But anyway, yeah, I just saw that it popped up on my app the other day.
yeah.
Haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to get around to it. All right. And the fifth question. If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in the entertainment industry, what would you do or not do? Would
Mhm.
you do anything differently or keep it the same?
I wouldn't necessarily change anything or do anything differently, except I would check my youthful arrogance.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, oh, of course. Like, being 18, leaving high school and going on to cruise ships, thinking that I am it. I am God's gift to the world as a performer. I think there's something to be said for confidence, but I think I just remember a time maybe taking that a little too far into the arrogance land. And if I had all the knowledge I have now, I would walk right up to my 18-year-old self and be like, okay, calm down, be a little more gracious, and yes, stay confident, but you know, you're a small fish right now in a big pond, so check yourself.
For sure. And absolutely, all of us as entertainers and professional entertainers, we absolutely 100% need to have a bit of ego, a bit of confidence. Otherwise, I don't think you can survive in this industry.
Sure,
But
absolutely.
there is certainly that fine line
There
of
is.
moving to arrogance.
Yeah,
And people love confidence, but
right.
not so much the arrogant part.
Yes. Yes.
That's fantastic advice for anybody listening.
Hmm.
And the last question.
Hmm.
What is the golden nugget knowledge drop that you've learned from your successful career in the industry that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Okay. Yeah. I've been pondering this, and this is something I really believe after such a good, long, what feels like a lengthy career. And it's pretty simple. And this is what I think is that, as soon as you think everyone cares, no one does. And then as soon as you think no one cares, everyone does. So to me, it's very important that you really care for yourself first, take care of yourself and care for yourself. And then you'll be able to really genuinely care for everyone else on the outside. So that would be my nugget to throw out.
I think that's fantastic. And to wrap up this interview, it is time for you to give yourself a plug. Where
Sure.
can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Sure. Okay. Well, you can definitely find me on Facebook and Instagram. My personal Instagram is at MB And then I also share a duo page with April. It's at Duo Dragon Wing. That's our duo name. And so you can follow us there. I also, like I said before, I coach at Trapeze Las Vegas. We do virtual and outdoor. We now do outdoor classes, and you can find us on the Sunset and Las Vegas corner, where our outdoor rig is. So definitely come check us out if you're looking to have a circus experience. And yeah, I mean, and then if we come back, I'll definitely be in Hans Clock, the World's Fastest Magician show. And then hopefully you'll see April and I as a duo very soon. We're going to be working very hard to get back up in the air somewhere on the strip. So be looking out for that for sure.
Perfect. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Dane.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My one call to action for you is to go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community, where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help you advance your entertainment career. Don't miss an episode. We have a new guest 7 days a week. Search for You Booked It on Apple Podcast or your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.